Everyone, welcome to another Animation Friday. Apologize I had to delay this video. Unfortunately, been busy over the weekend and also my audio has not been cooperating with me, so hopefully it continues to cooperate with me. But for this particular video, I wanted to just briefly discuss something interesting that I think has been sort of a growing trend within animation, and that's the mixing of styles, or mixing styles. Now, what I mean by mixing styles is taking different cultural influences and kind of infusing them together within animation. A perfect example of this is actually a relatively recent film, Big Hero 6. Probably a lot of you have heard of this one. But it definitely takes the Western and Eastern influence and infuses them together. So the Eastern being more Japanese and the Western being more like Disney. And what's interesting about that is not only do you get the look, but you also get the kind of feel and atmosphere as well. I think they even combined cities, so they took like San Francisco and Tokyo and kind of mixed them together. So again, quite interesting and something that I think is going to continue to happen. I think it's because since our world has grown so much smaller, it makes it that more interesting for animators because now they can look at all different kinds of animation throughout the world and kind of see what they can draw from and what they can take influence from. I think in particular, Miyazaki's work definitely has influenced and inspired a lot of Western animators. I think that is definitely safe to say, and I think they have taken that inspiration and sort of are trying to kind of infuse it within current day animation. Now, what I think is also important to understand is that the Eastern influence, especially within Asian countries, I think is relatively high for animators to draw inspiration from because they are a big market for movies in general. I mean, China is growing as far as its influence in filmmaking. Their culture is very important to the dollars that are generated from Hollywood overseas. So trying to appeal to that market is something that is definitely growing as far as trying to um, gather likability from and generate some kind of influence from. So it'll be quite interesting to see what the developments will be as far as children's films are concerned. I think definitely Disney is always going to kind of have the Western influence be maybe a little bit more dominant only because they are Western in origin. So it's obviously it makes sense that they would make that still a dominant factor. But with all of the amounts of technology we have and all of the ways in which we're able to communicate and generate information and orchestrate artistry, the more we're going to see this kind of infusion of putting things together and put it within a cultural context that is, again, kind of draws from different perceptions and different influences. So it's an interesting concept that's emerged, and I think it'll kind of continue from where it's at right now. As far as to how much this mixing is going to extend itself, I mean, it's probably going to just kind of depend on what the film is focused on trying to reach. If it's predominantly trying to reach more so people within the West, then there'll be more of an appeal to Western culture. If it's trying to appeal to Eastern culture, it'll obviously try to uh, do that. But the idea to mix these things together uh, is going to create a lot of, I think, creativity and a lot to work from. And in the end, I think will be an overall positive um, change to see. Uh, it doesn't necessarily mean that all animated films have to do this. Obviously, there can be films that just strictly focus on one particular cultural perspective or one cultural kind of identity, so to speak. But again, with our barriers coming down constantly, and everybody kind of commingling and communicating with each other, it's definitely safe to say that this desire to blend things together, so to speak, is gonna come out from it. But I think that's really all I can say about the topic. I'd be more than happy to hear what anybody else has to say. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Take care.